people jump on that. People jump on the plant-based movement or a vegan diet for those reasons. What if you could get better benefits than that from eating a juicy ribeye with butter on it every day if you want? Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Carnivore Revolution. I have realized recently that I haven't shared my story here on my YouTube channel very much in a long time. I share it on other people's channels when I do interviews for them, but I don't share it here very often. I share my daily things I do every week. I share interviews with doctors and success stories and things like that, but I haven't shared my story in a while, so I thought maybe it was time for that. I have a lot of new subscribers that weren't here the last time I did that, so here we go. So I am 51 years old and I am a chronic dieter. I have dieted basically my whole life. Bought my first diet pills when I was 12. I have been on every diet you can think of. I have been vegan, I have been vegetarian, I have been plant-based. I have done the cabbage soup diet. I have done Weight Watchers. I have done Jenny Craig. I have eaten only frozen Smart Ones meals and things like that I knew exactly the amount of calories that were in them. I have done everything from 21-day juice fast to 5-day water fasts over the years to try to lose weight. It was never for optimal health, which is where things differ for where I am now. But basically, it was always about losing weight, which I know so many women can resonate with that. We're always trying to lose that last 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, or maybe you have 100 pounds to lose, and it feels like the job is so big that you just don't know where to start. This is what saved me. So after all of those years of chronic dieting and eating disorders and disordered eating, during the pandemic, I got sick. And after the sickness was gone, I was left with this weird taste and smell issue called parosmia, where things tasted and smelled like a rotten skunk carcass somebody had lit on fire. I'm not even kidding. It was like it was following me around everywhere I went. There were so many things that I couldn't eat that I was just basically living on sugar and baked goods because those were the only things that didn't taste and smell rotten like that. Everywhere I went, it was life-altering for me. And I was in some Facebook groups where there were people at opposite ends of the spectrum, some of whom had it so bad that they were in a hospital and they were on a feeding tube because they couldn't keep anything down because everything smelled and tasted like that. It was a terrible feeling, and those people had it much worse than I did. And there were other people who, like me, could only eat sweets. And some of those people had gained 100 pounds in the 8 months or 10 months since they had had that sickness. And so that was a really weird place to be. That was very hard for me. I was crying every day. I was sad. My husband came home from work one day and found me outside in our camper crying because one of my daughters was in the house making eggs and I couldn't be in here while she was making them. It was that bad. And so what I realized was I was just eating sweets and it was making me feel bad all the time. I was gaining weight. I was miserable. So was I crying because I was depressed, or was I crying because of the foods I was eating weren't nourishing my body? And so after a pretty bad binge over a weekend on my birthday, my 48th birthday, I had eaten 20 cupcakes in 36 hours. Every time I walked through the kitchen, I picked up a cupcake. And I woke up on Monday morning miserable, and we had gone running, and we came home and we were sitting out on our back porch getting some vitamin D. And I just thought to myself, I can't do this anymore. I can't sustain myself on the sugar and the carbohydrates. I was miserable. And I knew at that point, I couldn't eat chicken. I couldn't eat eggs. I couldn't eat cheese. There were very few things that I could eat. Across the board for people with this illness, it's called parosmia. It's a condition, and it's distorted taste and smell is what it is. And it happens to some chemotherapy patients. It's not a new thing, but it was affecting a whole new lot of people because of the sickness. And so across the board, things like garlic, onion, peanut butter, coffee, there are several things that are kind of across the board for people that people just can't eat. Popcorn, like lots of things tasted and smelled that way. And it varied sometimes throughout the day. There were also some phantom smells that would come with that. I'd be sitting on my couch and I would be asking, does anybody else smell gasoline? And nobody else did. But the weird thing was when I went to the gas pump to fill up my car, it didn't smell like it would smell here in my living room. Really bizarre. It was just a terrible condition. And so I was miserable. And so I was sitting out on the porch getting some sunshine thinking I can't do this anymore. And I knew at that point that I could eat a fresh hamburger patty off the grill, couldn't be refrigerated and then reheated. There must be some sort of weird chemical reaction. And I could eat a New York strip fresh off the grill, but I couldn't eat a ribeye fresh off the grill. Really weird, right? Like it was just so bizarre. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to eat those two things. Those are things that I know aren't going to make me feel like garbage because they're not full of sugar, right? It's the only thing I can eat that doesn't have sugar in it. And so I started that day. And then I started scouring the internet, like, what happens to me if I just eat meat? If I just eat a New York strip and a hamburger patty every day, what's going to happen to me? And I found all kinds of amazing, miraculous stories from people. I found the Joe Rogan podcast with Sean Baker, of course. That's like 90% of people start the carnivore diet because they found that. And then I found Kelly Hogan and Laura Spath and Bella, Steak and Butter Gal. And I found all of these people with these amazing stories. There are more that I just can't even think of right now, but so many amazing stories of healing then, right? And I couldn't believe it. I just thought, how can that be? We're not supposed to eat that much fat. We're not supposed to eat that much red meat. But at that point, I was doing it, right? Because I was doing it anyway. I made the decision before I even found that information on the internet. And I just decided this is what I'm going to do. And some of the brain fog went away, like almost right away. I knew that a water fast would work for my taste and smell issue because I had done a 5-day water fast to try to fix it. And it did for a whole 48 hours. As soon as I started eating regular foods, it started to get bad again. And so this was about 3 weeks later that I was trying carnivore without really knowing that it was carnivore. And so I knew that if I could get autophagy, I felt like if I could get that healing that I can get from fasting, if I could get that while eating foods, maybe it would heal. And so that's what brought me to carnivore. It wasn't weight loss. It wasn't MS. It wasn't cancer. It wasn't one of those life-threatening illnesses, but it was pretty bad. And so I started carnivore that day. Things started to get better almost immediately, not so much with my taste and smell. That kind of came gradually. And within about 6 months, I probably had back, I would say 60 or 70% of my taste and smell was fairly normal, which was good. I had to give up coffee in there somewhere because the smell and the taste was so horrible. Now, I started drinking coffee at AA meetings with my mom when I was like 8 years old. So I've been drinking coffee my whole life. I'm 51. That's a lot of coffee. I love my coffee. So I went through a 3-week mourning period, 2.5, 3-week mourning period when I gave it up, because coffee is a whole culture. Coffee is what people do. They get together, they have coffee. They have coffee after dinner. They have coffee for dessert. We have coffee in the morning. I love coffee so much that I used to look forward to my morning coffee when I would go to bed at night. All I knew when my head hit the pillow was the next thing that I was going to know was that I was drinking a cup of coffee after I got out of bed the next morning. I love coffee. And so that was really hard for me. 2.5 or 3 weeks of just feeling sad, not having a lot of energy, and definitely mourning the loss of that ritual, right? Everybody goes out for coffee, and every TV show you watch, somebody's drinking a cup of coffee. Every movie you go to, somebody's drinking a cup of coffee. So that was hard for me. But I did that, stuck with the carnivore diet. I was really strict. I was using some electrolytes then. And I started to feel a lot better. And then I think the healing did come. And I'm not sure, obviously, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't done the carnivore diet, but I certainly most likely wouldn't be as healthy as I am right now because I would have continued to eat the sweets because that was the only thing I could eat. And so that's what brought me to the carnivore diet. Now, I do wish that I had come to the carnivore diet before that and for different reasons. So as of last summer, my taste and smell were almost completely restored. I would say 10% isn't. And I did add decaf back in when I got that taste and smell back. It still didn't taste and smell exactly like I remembered. But what I have found that if I have a fresh ground cup of coffee, like with the espresso machine right there, they got me for my birthday this year, it really does taste like coffee. And so that's been a huge treat for me. So I just have decaf, usually just once a day. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's my healing story with carnivore. And I can tell you that I am very healthy according to my blood work. I had blood work done back in the end of March and went back in April to talk to the doctor about it. And he basically closed my chart and said, there's nothing I can do for you. And I said, well, that's a win for carnivore, right? And the expression that he gave me was yeah, he doesn't understand it, right? He doesn't understand it. Your doctor won't understand it either, probably. And so my blood work is all good. I was my folate number was a point below where it should have been. And I know that's because I wasn't eating liver enough. So I've been trying to incorporate liver about once a week, and I'm sure that that's helping. And the only other thing that I was deficient in was a little bit of vitamin B, which also I can get from liver. And so I have been doing my part to incorporate that, but at least I'm not having to juggle and weigh and measure all kinds of, beans and different things so I can get the right amount of protein and things like that. So what people don't understand about the carnivore diet is you're eating whole, complete foods with bioavailable nutrients that you can't get from other things. So, and what that means is if I eat a whole bag of spinach, let's say, and it has however much iron in it, my body is not going to absorb all of that iron because that iron isn't in the state that my body needs it in. But if I eat a steak, most of that is going to get absorbed into my body because it is really nutrient dense. It is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. The fat is good for us. Our brain needs the fat. So I have mental clarity at 51 years old that I didn't have at 45 or dare I even say 40 or 35 for years. I would kind of joke with my friends, but inside it was really bothering me. I would say, I think I'm suffering from early onset Alzheimer's disease. I really felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be at that age, right? And I remember one of the things that used to freak me out the most was when you go to log into something and it says, oh, we'll send you a 6-digit code or whatever, remember this code and enter it. So I would panic because I couldn't remember those 6 numbers fast enough before the notification went back up on my phone. But there were a lot of little things like that we just kind of blow off, right? Like, oh, I'm getting old, right? The pain we have in our hips or our knees, or the noise we make when we stand up because we're getting old and our back hurts. What if those things aren't because we're getting old? What if those things are because of something we're doing, because of the foods we're eating, because of the products we're using? What if there was a better way? What if you could feel better? And I feel better. And so if you're on the fence about something like the carnivore diet or a low carb diet, I encourage you to give it a try. How many times has somebody mentioned a juice fast to you, or some sort of detox, or a supplement, or a diet, any other diet? If somebody tells you, oh, a plant-based diet fixed my arthritis, it fixed my back, I feel better, I lost 20 pounds, people jump on that. People jump on the plant-based movement or a vegan diet for those reasons. What if you could get better benefits than that from eating a juicy ribeye with butter on it every day if you want? What if you could get better results than that with bioavailable nutrients from eating eggs cooked in butter with bacon, or cooked in bacon grease? Or, the sky is the limit when you think about the amount of animal foods we have that are available to us that can make us feel better. Why wouldn't you try it? Why wouldn't you give it a shot? You have tried probably 100 other things that people have recommended to you that are supposed to make you feel better, and a lot of them aren't sustainable. Okay, so when I was editing that video, I actually deleted the last part of it by accident. Not just from my editing app, I actually deleted it from my phone entirely. So this is how I was gonna end that video. What if you could do a diet that was sustainable, that made you feel good all the time, that didn't leave you bloated, it didn't leave you tired? What if you could start your day with eggs fried in bacon grease with some bacon on the side? What if you could have sausage as a snack, or what the heck, have more bacon as a snack? For lunch, you could go to Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, Five Guys. They all have hamburgers that are 100% ground beef. So you can go there, you can get 3 or 4, 5 hamburger patties if that's what you need, more if that's what you need. Get the cheese, get the bacon on them so that you feel like you're not missing out on anything, right? Because you're not gonna get the fries, you're not gonna get a soda, so you need to be really good and full. Drink lots of water. You're gonna feel so much better if you do this for yourself. I have seen so many people start a plan like this, whether it be low carb, ketovore, carnivore, keto even, but not with all the junk food, not with the keto junk food. You don't want to do that. But I've seen so many people thrive, get off medications, and feel better eating this way. For dinner, have some steak. Buy a cheap steak. Buy steak that's on sale. It doesn't have to be expensive steak. Do ground beef every night if you have to. If steak is too expensive, you can have eggs for breakfast and for dinner. And I know a lot of people say eggs have gone up in price, they're so expensive, but compared to other things, they're really not that expensive. If you ate 6 eggs for breakfast and dinner, you're gonna be stuffed. That's a dozen eggs in a day. You're gonna be stuffed, you're gonna be full, you're gonna be satisfied. You're not gonna feel like you're missing out on anything. So be creative with it. Think about all the different animal products that you could eat. The eggs, the bacon, the sausage, the seafood, lamb if you like it, beef, pork, chicken. Think of all the different cuts, all the different ways to make it, where you can use cream for sausage. You can put cheese and bacon bits on things to give it flavor. Just try it though. You've tried so many other things. It's really time to give yourself a chance to feel better. It's just time. So I hope that this was encouraging you to hear my story. I plan on doing more videos where I just kind of talk about things along with all of the interviews that I post here on my YouTube channel. And I hope you'll come back and please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It makes a big difference when people subscribe. I really appreciate you watching. And if you have any questions, please drop those in the comments below. You can find me on Instagram at serena.carnivore. And I hope to see you next time.